As you know, CNN pays Brian Stelter to constantly complain about what Fox News airs, and now he's even complaining about what the hosts are doing off-air regarding their own personal, private medical decisions.
Where are Tucker and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham? Where's Ainsley Earhart and Steve Doocy and Brian Kilmeade? Where are the biggest stars on Fox getting vaccinated? Everybody else is doing it, right, Matt? I mean, all across television, all these anchors are rolling up their sleeves. Why do you think you haven't seen the biggest stars on Fox News get vaccinated or show us their vaccine selfies?
Vaccine selfies, hey, Brian? That's a good one. So funny, in fact, that everyone is laughing at you.
Holy So now virtue signaling includes telling people to virtue signal. And if Brian believes personal medical info should be publicized, he can start with his cholesterol. His HDL numbers are lower than his ratings.
Where are your vaccine selfies, he said. You gotta watch the whole thing. Everyone's doing it, he said. All the kids are doing it. The Today Show did it. Why aren't you doing it? It's hilarious. If the Biden administration announced tomorrow that 350 million Americans had to get microchips implanted in their ears to slow the spread of COVID, CNN would demand microchip selfies to prove you got one.
But that's not all little Brian is whining about this week. He's particularly flustered about Tucker Carlson revealing the Democrats' endgame regarding mass immigration.
So many millions are being seduced and being deceived by an alternative reality. Trump is not really the leader of this anymore. Tucker Carlson is. From downplaying the pro-Trump riot of January 6th to mainstreaming a white supremacist conspiracy theory. And I know, Tucker's been here before. Remember that time he said white was a hoax? But his comments this week, on Thursday, were another new low, as he identified the so-called white replacement theory by name. This is something that's fringe, often on racist websites, but he played it out for his viewers to hear. And it's been played a lot. I know the Fox segment has been played repeatedly, so I'm not going to air it here. But Tucker knew exactly what he was doing. Look at the quote. He even predicted that people would be disturbed by his argument, which made him all the more delighted to make the argument anyway.
Yes, he did, Brian, and you fall for it every time. He then brought the head of the ADL on his show to continue complaining and try to convince Fox News to fire Tucker Carlson.
So what do we want Fox to do? I mean, first and foremost, Tucker has got to go. Again, I think it is a risk, not just to the corporation, it's a risk to our society.
Tucker then did what he always does after there's an entire news cycle calling for him to be fired. He doubled down and on Monday did a 20-minute monologue presenting even more evidence for the Democrats' agenda, and then went where few pundits would dare go, expose the ADL for the hypocrites that they are.
Go to the Anti-Defamation League's website sometime if you'd like a glimpse of what an unvarnished conversation about a country's national interest might look like. In a short essay posted to the site, the ADL explains why the state of Israel should not allow more Arabs to become citizens with voting rights. Quote, with historically high birth rates among the Palestinians and a possible influx of Palestinian refugees and their descendants now living around the world, the ADL explains, Jews would quickly become a minority within a binational state, thus likely ending any semblance of equal representation and protections. In this situation, the Jewish population would be increasingly politically and potentially physically vulnerable. It is unrealistic and unacceptable, the ADL continues, to expect the state of Israel to voluntarily subvert its own sovereign existence and nationalist identity and become a vulnerable minority within what was once its own territory, end quote.
You see, the establishment doesn't want people to criticize their plans for the New World Order until it's already too late to stop them, or they've already accomplished it and then they'll sit back and marvel at their incredible achievement. If you start pointing out facts like that California used to be a red state, literally a Republican majority state until the early 1990s, but then changed because of mass immigration, or that Texas is now a purple state and might actually go blue because of the changing demographics, you start pointing things like that out and Republicans might actually wake up and do something to try to stop it. Little Brian Stelter's sidekick Oliver Darcy took to Twitter to say, quote, Tucker Carlson is responding to outrage over his comments by replaying those comments and mocking people for being outraged that he made them. Yes, that's how you do it, you mock them. Or you do what Project Veritas did and you go undercover and expose them with their own words by having them say the quiet part out loud, which is what happened to this CNN director.
So Chester says that CNN is responsible for getting Trump out of office and helping Biden through his term. Listen to this tape. Chester and Hoffman believe CNN managed to get Trump out of office, their words, and Chester calls CNN propaganda.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump, we did it. Like when Trump was, I don't know, like his hand was shaking or whatever like that. We brought in like so many medical people to like all tell a story that like it was all speculation. That he was like neurological damage, like that he was losing it. He's unfit to, you know, whatever. We were creating a story there that we didn't know anything about. You know, so that's I think that's propaganda. You know? We had nothing else to run with at that time. We were like just taking shots off the bow, just hoping something would hit, you know.
Of course, we all knew that, but it is nice to get somebody who works at CNN to at least finally admit it. He also admitted their plans for Matt Gaetz.
Like Matt Gaetz right now, he's like this Republican, like he's a problem for the Democratic Party because he's so conservative, right? And he can cause a lot of hiccups in passing of laws and whatnot. So it would be great for the Democratic Party to get him out. So we're going to keep running those stories to keep hurting him and make it so that it can't be buried and like just, you know, settled outside of court and just like, you know, if we keep pushing that, it's helping us. That's propaganda. It's helping us in some way.
Interestingly, there was nothing in Little Brian's nightly newsletter about this, despite it being a pretty big story and one of the top trends on Twitter all day yesterday. Just more lying by omission. But CNN is engaged in more than lying by omission or just being a propaganda network. And I say this in all seriousness, not being hyperbolic. They are evil. They are servants of Satan. And this week they're focused on whipping everybody into a frenzy over the fentanyl Floyd trial and that other incident involving another saint in the Minneapolis area who Black Lives Matter looted a Foot Locker and a Dollar Tree in memory of, which is exactly why we need to build more jails instead of more public housing. And it's times like these that we really need to support the police because they're doing their best to try to prevent the Marxist takeover from succeeding. So if you want to show support for the police and support my channel, get yourself a Cops Lives Matter shirt from my online store and save 20% off of anything this week by using the promo code MOREJAILS, one word, at the checkout. More jails. And with summer just around the corner, you may want to get yourself an I Love Global Warming shirt or any of my awesome designs. So head on over to markdash.com or click the link in the description below, enter the promo code MOREJAILS, one word, at the checkout, and check them out.